Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Despite the ruling of the European Court of Justice that Poland should suspend the operation of the Disciplinary Chamber of the Supreme Court, the Chamber continues its work. The Chamber did postpone a hearing scheduled for today at which a decision was to have been taken on the waiver of the immunity of another judge with a communist past. Among the main policy objectives of the Law and Justice Party is the reform of the Polish judiciary, considered one of the least efficient in the European Union. After the collapse of the communist system in 1989, judges and prosecutors retained their positions. As a result, judges who became involved in corruption or moral scandals did not face any punishment. Since Law and Justice won the election in 2015, a significant group of judges sided with the opposition and openly objected to changes involving, amongst others, attempts to discipline them. Polish authorities considered the judgments of the European Court of Justice on the Polish judicial system to be ultra vires, that is, beyond the scope of the European Court's jurisdiction. Today's proceedings were to revoke the immunity of Judge Piotr Raczkowski, former president of the military garrison court in Warsaw. The prosecution accuses the judge of exceeding his powers because in autumn 2016 he lifted the secrecy clause from part of the files of a spy case from the 1990s. According to the prosecution, the files contained documents produced by the then State Protection Bureau, so he should first have obtained permission from the Internal Security Agency. The case has been adjourned until the 23rd of September. The Chamber is ruling in accordance with its competence. Last Wednesday, the Constitutional Court ruled that a provision of the EU treaty under which the European Court of Justice obliges member states to apply interim measures in the area of the judiciary is unconstitutional. The ECJ obliged Poland to suspend the activity of the Disciplinary Chamber, also in cases dealing with the immunity of judges. On Thursday, the ECJ ruled that the system of disciplinary responsibility for judges is incompatible with EU law. According to the ECJ, the process of appointing Supreme Court judges depends to a large extent on the National Council of the Judiciary, whose structure, according to the ECJ, has been subject to major changes by the Polish executive and legislature, which make it susceptible to political influence. The claim that there will be some kind of post-Brexit is simply political propaganda from the opposition. The same decisions are being taken by all constitutional courts in the member states of Romania, Germany, France and Spain. And no one is talking about these countries leaving the European Union. This is only natural, because the European Commission takes the member states to the European Court of Justice. When the member states lose, they criticise these decisions. On Friday, the President of the Supreme Court, Małgorzata Manowska, stressed that it follows from the provisions of the Treaty of the European Union that European law does not cover this field of organisation of justice, as it is the member states that have competence in this area. Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki has said that fears that Poland may leave the European Union due to the growing conflict over the country's judicial reforms are political fantasy. The Prime Minister made the statement at a press conference in Międzana Góra, South Poland, on Monday. There is no Polexit risk, Morawiecki said. There is no risk here. There are no such plans. He also accused the government's opponents of trying to incite political emotion. We're a strong country in the European Union, and it's difficult to imagine the European Union without Poland, Morawiecki added. The European Court of Justice ruled on Thursday that Poland's disciplinary system for judges is in conflict with EU law and obliged Poland to suspend the functioning of its new disciplinary panel of the Supreme Court. Morawiecki reiterated the ruling party's position that when entering the European Union in 2004, Poland had not agreed to transfer its competence to European institutions. His government, formed by the Conservative Party Law and Justice, has said that the ECJ has no jurisdiction over how the Polish justice system is organised. The Prime Minister also offered assurances that Poland will continue dialogue with the EU's top institutions. The Disciplinary Chamber may strip judges of immunity, suspend their work and impose penalties on them, but critics say that the ruling party politicians have had an overwhelming influence on who sits on the panel. The Senate Legislative Committee will debate an amendment to the Code of Administrative Procedure to limit to 30 years the period in which a decision on lost property might be declared invalid. The amendment was adopted last month by the lower chamber of Parliament, the Sejm, and sparked international protests. After World War II, most real estate was nationalised by the communist state, while many of the owners and their heirs perished. Currently, the Code of Administrative Procedure allows manipulation of the ruling on property ownership. The new amendment will stop that. One of the expert opinions commissioned by the Senate indicates that there are no grounds to challenge the reprivatisation amendment based on international law, although opinions on this issue are divided among the senators themselves. It contains some sensible solutions, but it strikes at people, Polish citizens living in Poland, who are currently involved in cases for the return of property taken from them by the communists. I am convinced that the version of the amendment to the Code of Administrative Procedure is a very good one. The law passed the same on the 24th of June and met with a swift and critical reaction in Jewish circles. On the same day, in the evening, Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid used strong words to express his opinion. No law can change history. The new Polish law is a disgrace and will seriously damage relations between the two countries. Israel will stand as a bulwark to protect the memory of the Holocaust and honour the Holocaust survivors and their property. The Polish Foreign Ministry quoted the Constitutional Court ruling. The Act on Amendments to the Act on the Code of Administrative Procedure, adopted on the 24th of June this year by the Sejm of the Republic of Poland, results from the necessity to introduce into the system of applicable law the judgment of the Constitutional Tribunal of the 12th of May 2015. The Constitutional Tribunal ruled that it is incompatible with the principle of a democratic legal state if it is possible to declare an administrative decision issued in gross violation of the law invalid without any time limits. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki stressed that Poland will not pay for German crime. Many allegedly unscrupulous people took advantage of this lack of a time limit to file claims to certain properties, searching for owners who would be 100 or more years old. For me, this amendment is a huge revolution. We are joining the civilized countries and putting an end to the so-called claims. What is to be done with tenements that have already been seized? The new owners should give them back. Victims of Warsaw reprivatization hope that the Senate will adopt the amendment, which in their opinion is over a dozen years overdue. Firefighters intervened more than 860 times over the weekend in Małopolska after violent storms passed through the region. By far the worst affected district was Myślenica. A crisis staff has been activated on the spot, chaired by Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki. Morawiecki said the situation in the southern province of Małopolska is under control despite the region being battered by heavy rain and storms. The Prime Minister visited the province on Sunday after some parts of it were damaged by torrential rain and rising water levels in local rivers. We discussed with local government officials how to prevent such natural disasters. For example, by building new reservoirs. The Law and Justice government is ready to implement such projects. Of course there are obstacles here, such as environmental or administrative permits, but we will be able to overcome them. This weekend is difficult for Małopolska. 5,000 firefighters supported residents affected by heavy rainfall. We have prepared a fast track for aid payments, but more importantly, we need to build the infrastructure needed to counter such incidents. We have acquainted ourselves both with the current meteorological and hydrological situation and the possible effects of torrential rain and storms, Morawiecki said in the town of Dobczyca. We are convinced that the situation will remain under control if weather conditions do not deteriorate, he said, adding that all emergency services were fully prepared to spring into action. The Prime Minister said that the reservoir in Dobczyca protected a few counties, including some parts of the city of Krakow, and that all these places were much safer today than during the widespread flooding that hit the region in 2010. Nature has been showing its more dangerous face, both in the Małopolska province and in other regions, he said. Morawiecki also praised the local emergency services for their readiness to deal with the rising water levels and declared that, owing to this, local residents can feel safe. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.